Here it is here. It is a water nozzle is missing here. And her E here, and here are also all missing their corresponding parts. So this episode's video will be repairing a truck made in the 1950 seconds. A Tonka Fire Truck model that can spray water, and this is the restoration expert from Rebuild F Store, carrying out the disassembly. Regarding the history of the Tonka company, we talked about it a long time ago and know that initially they made a living by producing gardening tools, like shovels. The factory scale wasn't large, but it managed to operate until one time, and by chance, they acquired a set of toy truck molds from a bankrupt metal toy manufacturer. Initially, they only thought of it as a side job for the off-season, but the results were uncontrollable. That Christmas, they used these molds to produce a batch of homemade truck models, with the bodies stamped from thick steel sheets, and painted in bright red or yellow. Unexpectedly, this batch of toys sold out quickly as soon as it hit the shelves. Demand truly outstripped supply. It also attracted numerous orders from neighboring states, but most importantly, they discovered that making money from kids was easy. The profit from this batch of toys was much higher than from those old gardening tools. It was like Qin Shi Huang, taking an elevator to victory. At the same time, they were already very skilled in this metalworking technique, and they were familiar with the costs. So the company decided to gradually abandon its original gardening tool business and switch completely to metal toys, manufacturing, and naming them Tonka after the local area, and at the same time, stepping onto the path of the toy truck king. So how did Tonka fall from its peak to the abyss, and then to its current state? We'll talk about that later. Anyway, for now, our restorer has completed the entire disassembly process. Next is the repair stage. First, the restorer will use sandblasting to remove the paint and rust from these parts. The blasting media used here is brown corundum. Did you guess right? After completing the sandblasting, for the hard-to-reach corners, it's necessary to use a neutral rust remover to remove the rust a second time. This type of neutral rust remover, besides its good rust-removing ability, more importantly, is not like other acid-based rust removal lines, which require neutralization with baking soda after rust removal. You just need to rinse it with water. So, the rust is finally cleaned off. Next is the straightening process. Our guy will use physical methods to straighten all these bent parts. After completing the straightening work, the next step is to spray a layer of powder coat primer over everything. Next, spray a little water, and then you can use wet sandpaper to sand the entire machine smooth. Compared to regular paint, the thickness of the powder coat will be thicker, usually reaching 60 to 120 micrometers. Thus, after a comprehensive sanding, it can be used to fill in small scratches. For larger scratches and uneven spots, this cold weld compound can be used to fill them. So, compared to regular putty, after this cold weld compound dries and hardens, it will have higher durability and can withstand a series of mechanical processes like drilling, grinding, and filing, and after it hardens, it needs to be sanded smooth again. Once finished, the next step is to spray the primer and top coat. The primer is the same as before, and for the top coat, we'll choose this symbolic fire truck red. Besides these main red parts, other small parts will be powder-coated in a silver chrome color. The next step to handle are these severely deformed aluminum anti-slip plates. After straightening them, we'll use a buffing pad to clean them thoroughly. Next, for these broken parts, it's necessary to use a low-temperature aluminum welding rod to fix them. This type of welding rod has a working temperature of about 380 to 420 degrees, much lower than the 660-degree melting point of aluminum, belonging to the principle of brazing. Of course, after welding, it needs to be ground smooth to recreate the original diamond plate pattern. After finishing this part, the next step is to use a polishing method to polish all the diamond plate anti-slip sheets. So, the aluminum material doesn't need extra protection. When exposed to air, its surface will form a thin aluminum oxide film to insulate it from external corrosion. Next, looking at these two severely bent and rusted axles, the restorer chose to use this 3 16-inch diameter steel rod to make a new one. Finally, polishing the plastic parts like the headlights, and so all the parts have been processed. All that's left are the missing parts, and some that couldn't be fixed. The restorer also worked his magic to find some old replacement components, including 90% new hubcaps, new tires, new doors, a new dashboard, a new hose, new taillights, a new siren, a new warning light, new decals, a new connector, a new front warning light, and even a new party. When all the parts are ready, we will move on to the final assembly stage. Assembling a toy model like this is a bit complicated, but not very difficult. Let's continue talking about the Tonka company after its transformation. For over 20 years, Tonka always adhered to an iron rule of built to last, and the truth was indeed so. These bodies stamped from steel sheets were so hard you could use them as a cutting board, and the paint was also very durable. Ordinary skills couldn't scratch it, and the functional details were top-notch. For example, the bed of the dump truck could actually be used to dump goods. And as for the fire truck restored here, besides having a ladder and a nozzle, it could even spray water. For children, this couldn't be called a toy. This was the first experimental platform of their lives. By the 1960s, Tonka's toy trucks were sold in over 100 countries worldwide, and more than 60 years ago, Tonka already knew how to play the co-branding game. They collaborated with famous construction companies, transport companies, and oil companies in the industry to create many special collaboration editions, thereby expanding their influence in the industry. It can be said that Tonka at this time, just like their advertising slogan, Tonka Mighty Truck, was the true king of toy trucks. Unfortunately, this crown was still a bit heavy. By the 70s, The global oil crisis was like two bricks hitting the manufacturing industry of the time. Steel, paint, and transportation costs all rose comprehensively, and plastic toys from Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Greece. Japan also launched a massive assault, relying on being lightweight, cheap, and having diverse models to capture a significant market share from Tonka. To further reduce costs, Tonka gritted its teeth and decided to abandon its years of persistence, and also started playing the plastic game. From gradually replacing small parts to the full-scale expansion of the all-plastic GoBots product line, although this both reduced costs and increased safety. Afterward, the original golden plaque of durable and tough began to waver, which also broke the hearts of many old-school players. At the same time, they acquired Meccano from the UK, trying to break into the construction toy sector, and even got involved in video game accessories. But none of these transitions could prop up Tonka's other leg. By 1991, under the double blow of competitive pressure and accumulated financial strain, Tonka was acquired by Hasbro, and from then on, completely followed the path of plastic, targeting a younger audience, and the steel toy truck that was once advertised with an elephant standing on it gradually moved into the display cabinets of many collectors. Now back to the video. Finally installing these last accessories. And so this 1950 seconds Tonka Fire Truck model is now officially restored. Let's take a look at the before and after comparison. After the restoration, the result is truly amazing. If you own a Tonka toy model in good condition, produced from the 50 seconds to the 70 seconds, it can sell for hundreds to thousands of dollars. Well, that's it for this craft video. Thank you all for watching.